Hi, my name's Adil, and I'm 14, or at least that's what the government tells me.
Okay, let's try that again.
Hi, my name is Isra and I'm 4. My name is Safina. I'm 6 years old. I'm Sauda and I'm 7 years old.
Hi, my name is Sidra and I am 9 years old.
Hi, my name's Adil, and I'm 14.
Okay, so does this row of pennies have the same amount of pennies as this row?
Yeah.
They do? Okay. Now, does this row of pennies have the same amount as this row?
Yeah.
They do?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
They're the same.
They're the same?
Mm-hmm.
So this one doesn't have more, or this one doesn't have more pennies? What does that mean?
No.
No what?
No.
No to what? Do they have the same amount of pennies?
Yes.
Or is one bigger than the other?
One's bigger than the other.
No, but does one have more pennies than the other?
Mm-hmm.
No?
Mm-hmm. This is really easy.
Okay, so does this row have the same amount of pennies as this row?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's 10 and 10 and you can make 10 and 10 with 5 and 5.
Now, do both rows have the same amount of pennies, or does one have more? Does this one have more, or does this one have more?
The same amount.
Why?
Because you just separated this one.
Both have the equal amount
Why?
because you just separated them and this one are just close.
Does this glass have the same amount of water as this glass?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Now, wait, I'll move it. Okay. So now, does one glass have more water than the other?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Which one has more water? Why?
Because it's a tall cup.
Does this glass of water have the same amount as this glass?
No.
No?
No.
Which one has more? That one?
Mhm.
Why?
Because there's a lot.
Now, does this glass and this glass have the same amount of water?
Yes, they do.
Why?
Because before you had this, the two cups had the same amount of water. You just put it onto you just poured it into a different kind of glass.
Which one has more water?
This one.
Why?
Because this cup is big.
Okay, I'm going to read 2 rules, and then you're going to answer the question I ask, okay? The first rule is if you hit a glass with a hammer, the glass will break. And then the second rule is Don hit a glass with a hammer. So what happened to the glass?
A broke.
It broke?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I have 2 different rules, okay?
Okay.
So the first rule is if you hit a glass with a feather, it will break. Okay?
Okay.
And then the second rule is Don hit a glass with a feather. So what happened to the glass?
A broke.
First rule is if you hit a glass with a hammer, it will break. And the second rule is Don hit a glass with a hammer. What happened to the glass?
It broke.
Why?
Because the hammer is strong.
Okay, so now I'm going to give you 2 more rules. And the first rule is if you hit a glass with a feather, it will break. And the second rule is Don hit a glass with a feather. So what happened to the glass?
It didn't break.
Why didn't it break?
Because feathers are light.
You hit a glass with a feather, it will break. Don hit a glass with a feather. What happened to the glass?
It didn't break
Why not?
because the feather is light.
Okay. So then I have two other rules. The first rule is if you hit a glass with a feather, it will break. And then the second rule is Dawn hit a glass with a feather. So what happened to the glass?
If you if you hit it with a feather, it will not break
Why?
because the feather is much lighter than the hammer.
Okay. So if you hit a glass, the first rule is if you hit a glass with a feather, the glass will break. And the second rule is Dawn hit a glass with a feather. So what happened to the glass?
You just said that the feather will break the glass. I mean, the glass is gonna break.